Okay. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi wa kafa wa salamun ala ibadihi alladhina istafa. On behalf of Muslim dreamers and the ulama who are spearheading this organization, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Inshallah, tonight's dars will be something that's become very sensitive in our times. And inshallah, we will do our best to bring out what Islam has to say. The interesting thing is that you will find many different people trying to use the banner of Islam to say this is like this and that's like that. But to get to the heart of the matter, you have to look at the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you have to look at how Huzur Akram sallallahu alayhi wasallam treated this issue, and that is the gender equality. نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يوصيكم الله في أولادكم للذكر مثل حظ الأنثيين وقال في شان حبيبه الكريم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا وشفيعنا ومولانا محمد معدن الجود والكرم وآله وأصحابه وبارك وسلم صلاة وسلاما عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله. Now, because this is a very, it's become a very touchy subject in our society, and also in our own communities, we have people who are very confused about this issue. And I'm not just talking about, women who want some kind of rights. I'm also talking about men. The issue is people ask us this all the time, and they will ask the other ulama who are present here. They will ask them too, like, what do we need to do about, the women who want their rights? Well, the first thing is that, we should give them their rights. One of the root causes of perceived gender inequality is the reality that men do not give women the rights that are already due upon them. And they don't behave equitably. If we are all sitting in a gathering of men, and I am a man speaking to you as men, then the thing that we have to tell each other is to be equitable. The last sermon, the last khutbah of Huzur sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he states that the best among you is the one who is best to his spouse. O kama qal sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That means what? That means the person who fulfills the rights that are due upon him. Now, because not as a Muslim nation, but as a worldwide society, you find that men are, leaving those rights aside. They're pushing those rights aside for whatever the reasons might be. Because of that, that is the thing that sparks these kinds of feelings. And that's why we don't know. There's no solution for it, because the real solution is to do what? To find what rights are due upon the women. And as a man, your responsibility is to fulfill those rights. The example of Huzur sallallahu alaihi wasallam is that when he adjudicates dispute, he would demand that both parties honor each other's rights. But when it came to his personal zat sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he would always forego his own rights in favor of the rights of someone else. So the example of Huzur sallallahu alaihi wasallam is to look at the other person instead of, and look at the needs of that person instead of looking at yourself. This is what men need to do as a collective, because like it or not, we are at the forefront of the world society. And that's a responsibility that we have to think about. Now, for the issue at hand, true gender equality, there are lots of different examples that people like to take and say, look, Islam does not believe in gender equality. One example is this ayat. This is the ayat of Miras, the ayat of Wiratha, the ayat where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala specifies which people get how many shares when their relative passes away. When someone passes away, this is one of the only times, if not the only time, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself has laid out very, very, very specifically who gets what. And you will find in all the four madhahib of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, you'll find that this is the one issue, this is the one bab, the case, wiratha, where there's very, very little ikhtilaf, if any. And that's because the Quran is very specific. This is the hikmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in which He specifically laid out these things. And another thing, before I get into the actual issue, is that this ayat, the ayat of wiratha, this abrogated the previous ayat of khayran al-wasiyah, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, you should leave a will behind for your inheritors. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala removed this. Why? This is the tamheed for what we want to talk about today. Why would Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala abrogate this verse? To show, one of the wisdoms behind this is to show that when a man or a woman or human being tries to fulfill the rights that are due upon him, he is unable to do so. So one ayat was revealed as a command to human beings that you need to do this, you need to fulfill this. And it was tried and it didn't work out. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave this ayat where He Himself became involved and said, I will fulfill those rights. So the important thing to understand is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks and considers everyone. Of course, He is Al-Alim, He is Al-Hakim. So He guarantees the proper right that is due on everybody. So the first thing He says, لِلذَّكَرِ مِثْلُ حَظِّ الْأُنْثَيَيْنِ. This is an example that people will take issue with. That for a man is a share equal to 2 shares of a woman. Now people will say, this is the objection that people have. Like, why does a man get double? Why does a woman only get 1? Right? Is this gender equality or not, first of all? You have to understand that in the qudra and the ilm of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not, He has created everybody equally, but He has also guaranteed a particular darja and status to each person that is incomparable. Okay? One ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لا نفرق بين أحد من رسله, where the mu'mineen are supposed to say this. We don't make any distinction between the messengers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then there's the other ayat, تِلْكَ الرُّسُلُ فَضَّلْنَا بَعْضُهُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ. What does it mean? When we do tawfiq between these ayats, it means we don't make any distinction between believing in any Nabi. However many Anbiya have come on this earth, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, we believe in all of them. We believe in all of them equally. Right? This is the ibtida. And the intaha is what? تِلْكَ الرُّسُلُ فَضَّلْنَا بَعْضُهُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ. At the end of the day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has accorded to each of them a distinct rank, a distinct rutbah. It's the same thing for common human beings. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks at the maqam, the station that is meant for you as whom you are in society, your gender, your race, not so much your race, but your occupation, where you are in the society, and who you are as an individual human being. No one knows you better than your creator. So the ulama have given us different wisdoms as to how this is true equality between the genders. How could this be true equality? How could this be? One hikmah behind this is that the lady in any society, to this day, it's this still the predominant truth, that the lady in any society, her job is not to distribute what she receives. Her job is to take what she is owed and to take what she is given and to use that for herself. Right? But what is the responsibility of a man? Hardly, especially the earners. Earners like you guys, you will know that if $100 comes to your hand, hardly $5 you'll be able to use for yourself. Because as we say in Urdu, mard dene wala hai aur aurat lene wali hai. This is the quintessential reality of the genders, right? And it doesn't mean one is superior over the other. No, this is the trend. Not only is it the trend, this is the natural disposition. That it's not a woman's job to distribute the wealth that she has. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will greatly honor the ones who take the wealth that they have and distribute it to others. For example, who is the greatest of the Ummahat al-Mu'mineen? Bibi Khadija radiallahu anha. Number one reason is what? Because Huzur sallallahu alayhi wasallam had the greatest love for her out of all the Ummahat al-Mu'mineen. And what's the second reason? The second reason is that when it came time to spend in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when things were extremely difficult for the community of believers at that time, it was Hazrat Khadija who was one of the greatest spenders. And she had no responsibility to spend it. And because she did this, there are narrations, the ulama are here, they can correct me, where there was asked to give at Zohar time, and by Asr time, all of her house was cleared. And this is why, this is also in the Sirat, this is also in the Hadith, Jibreel Amin, alayhi salam, he came and what? He said, Allah is giving salam to Khadija. Or kama qila fi riwayah. So this is the opportunity that a woman has, that she has a responsibility to just keep her wealth for herself. But if she goes past her rights and she distributes, then she can receive a greater status than many men with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So this is the hikmah behind this, that a man, he is expected in society to dish out money for this, dish out money for that. And not just married men, by the way, even single men. Okay, we're here in this apartment. Who's paying the bills here? Who's paying the bills here? Right, the person who's earning the money. So the person who is earning, he's gonna get double. Why? Because he has to spend that much more. And that extra money is not for him. That means, rather, that extra money is for the people whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed as dependents of him. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not just give a blank slate to people. No. He knows very, very intimately who needs what. He knows very intimately who needs what. This is the reality of gender equality. And as for the rights, or I should say, as for the reward that one enjoys with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Imran that He does not let the action of any believing man or any believing woman go to waste. He does not let these things go to waste. So one other thing about true gender equality that we have to understand, and not just about gender inequality, the whole system, right? Nowadays we have this ajib khayal, this ajib thought in our minds that, deen is separate and dunya is separate, when that's a pretty wild misconception. If you think deeply, you will realize that our justice system, okay, our wealth distribution system, our societal system, all of the worldly systems we have in place that are established by Shariat in general, but especially established by Shariat, none of them work without the consistent and firm belief in the Akhirat. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, when we were learning with Faizan al-Mustafa, we were learning Tajushariah. Okay, one of the questions was, if the shahada is on the mudda'i, then how do we know he won't produce fake witnesses, right? And what was Hazrat's response? Is that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam has issued a wa'id in this matter. That one of the last things he said before he left this life was what? That be aware of shahadat az-zur, beware of false testimony. Now, for the average person, that doesn't seem like much, because we're like, there's no way to guarantee that someone won't lie on the stand. But show me any justice system that is alive today in which you can guarantee that a person tells the truth. I have yet to see. At the end of the day, the witness and the testimony of any court system anywhere in the world today is always presupposing that the person is telling the truth because he takes an oath to tell the truth. So the bunyad, the foundation of this whole thing remains a person's zuban, a person's word. Now, if you look at this, there is no way for any worldly system to guarantee that a person tells the truth. But if you look at now the Sharia thing, it's the same thing, but what happens is what? That this person will have to answer for what he did in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This belief is the thing that guarantees a person's justice. And no other system was able to do this. Similarly, if we're talking about gender equality, it's the same Mawla, it is the same Khaliq, it is the same Rahim, it is the same Qadir, who guarantees everybody's right. You would have heard this narration, the mafhum of the narration is this, that when we see a dua that we used to ask that we never got in this life, and we see it in the afterlife, we see it in the akhirat, then our hearts will say, we wish all of our du'as were rejected in this life and accepted in the afterlife. This is the akhirat that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam has guaranteed us. That guarantee is the bunyad of perfect justice and perfect equality. So we can talk about this and say, this is just one aspect that I wanted to talk about, that, a man gets 2 shares and a woman gets 1 share. But you have to think deeply, and you also, more than anything, you have to have a good opinion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And when you look at these things, you will understand the hikmah behind them. And you will understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He deals in what we call immutable realities. Immutable reality means something that you cannot change, you cannot stop. Right? You read this in Aqidat al-Tahawiyah, there's nothing that can stop. La radda li qadrillahi ta'ala. There is nothing that can stop or deny or defend against the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or the qada of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deals in things that are absolute realities. And this thing, behind the hikmah, behind this hukum, this is also something that is, and this is a reality that humanity has to accept, that we have to understand that everybody has been given a right. And we cannot have complete, absolute, same equality, because he is not equal to me and I am not equal to him. If between men people are not equal, if between Anbiya they are not equal, then what can we say about men and women? That everybody has a unique status, nobody is comparable to the other, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has guaranteed each person not their guaranteed inalienable rights, but their unique, God-given, and naturally created rights. And if we understand this, then we understand the reality of gender equality. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of those who understand the hikam behind His ahkam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of those who can carry this message forward to others. If I said anything wrong, this is from myself, and of course, whatever good was sent, this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillahi wahdah, wassalatu wassalamu ala man la nabiyya ba'dah, amma ba'd, fa'a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, bismillahir rahmanir rahim, inna akramakum inda Allahi atqakum, sadaqallahu al-aliyyul azim, wa sadaqa rasuluhu an-nabiyyul kareem, وقال الله تعالى في شأن حبيبه الكريم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد معدن الجود والكرم منبع العلم والحلم والحكم وآله وصحبه وبارك وسلم صلاة وسلاما عليك يا سيدي يا خاتم الأنبياء والمرسلين. By the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have all gathered here in this sacred circles gathering. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our presence, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make this a means for our learning and a means to better ourselves as Muslims. The verse of the Quran that I recited in front of you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states, Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. Now, we find in today's day and age is that people have categorized status or reputation into or by the jobs that they do in this world. Meaning, if someone is cooking in the kitchen all day, taking care of the kids, then for some reason, the people have said that this individual is lower than the rest of the people. For some odd reason, the individual who has the most influence within the household on the next generation, the individual who the children learn from, that individual who builds the character of the children by staying with the children, caring for the children, cooking for the children, sympathizing with the children, giving their utmost attention to the children, for some odd reason, the people have said that those individuals are lower than the rest of society. The rest of society is superior, and those individuals are for some reason inferior. In today's day and age, you see that if someone is one whose job requires manual labor, the people will say that this individual is lower than the rest of society. They are inferior to the rest of the society. And today's day and age, the people of today, they have set standards in this manner. But the religion of Islam and the teachings of Sayyiduna Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, this is not what is taught by the religion of Islam. The religion of Islam teaches that even if someone cleans shoes for a living, he is no less than the individual who has the corner office, who has a nice view from his window, who has nice cars, who has a big house, because the religion of Islam has not set class or rank by the earnings of the people or by their jobs. Rather, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has stated, Inna akramakum indallahi attaqum. Indeed, the most noble amongst you all are the most fearing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Meaning, it does not matter if someone spends all day in the kitchen and influencing the children, caring for the children. If we compare that to someone who is going out, who is bringing the bread, someone who is having a job which is supporting the household, those two people, their greatness will not be put on scale by their earnings, rather it will be put on scale by the level of their taqwa, their fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If someone is a millionaire, you know, the richest people in the world today, most of those individuals are not Muslim. The people that we consider to be successful today, the people that we consider to be most superior today, those individuals are not even Muslim. What rank or what status will they have in the akhirah? Those individuals who do not accept the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the religion of Islam, they have no reputation in the akhirah. All of those individuals who we consider to be important today or we consider to be superior today, all of them will be going to the hellfire. Those individuals who do not accept the religion of Sayyiduna Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. So Islam does not give greatness or measure greatness based upon income, or their role in society. Meaning your roles in society, even when we talk on a level of gender. If the religion of Islam discourages women from going out to win their bread, from going out of their homes to work, even though the religion of Islam discourages these kinds of things. If there is no need, then the woman should not be going outside of the house to earn her bread. But the religion of Islam, if you put into comparison, for example, you know, the idea that people give is that Islam says that men are greater or more superior than the woman. And they judge this just based on seeing the roles that they have in their households or the roles that they have in their lives. But if I give you an example, it will be very easy for you to understand. Let's say that there is a millionaire man. He has a nice office. He has the nice cars. He's the big boss at work, all of these things. But this individual does not pray salah. This individual, he does not obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He does not refrain from the prohibitions set by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this individual, he has a wife. Now this wife of his, she stays home, but she prays. All 5 of her daily prayers, she prays those. Her salah, she does not miss. She does not miss any fast, which is an obligation upon her. She does not transgress the boundaries set by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, who will you say out of this husband and wife is the greater individual? The wife is greater. Why? Because her actions are according to the people of Jannah. Her actions are according to the teachings of Sayyiduna Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. The degree and the status that the religion of Islam has set, the guidelines that the religion of Islam has set, is based upon taqwa, upon fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the religion of Islam. Now, in today's day and age, you find many contradictions as well. Meaning some people will say that women are inferior to men when it comes to a general status or a general rank. You see that in one place, people say that women are inferior to men. They don't have any as much opportunity as men in these kinds of things. But then there's so many people who you can say are naturally, if we look at this rule that people say that when a person is born man, when a boy is born, he has more rights, or he has a much greater status in society. So those people, meaning those boys or those men, when they grow up, why is it that we find this contradiction in the Western society that so many men want to be women? Do you understand? So we find these contradictions. So all of these ideologies that are coming up today, like this feminist ideology, they come and attack Islam. The LGBTQ community, they come and attack Islam. But the reality is that the religion of Islam is a natural religion. The topic of today was to talk about true gender equality, and also to talk about all of these different tribulations that the Muslim nation is facing, like the LGBT community, and what our attitude needs to be with these kinds of people. And Sayyiduna Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, he is the one regarding whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. Sayyiduna Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is a manifestation of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Meaning there is no human, there is no creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who is as merciful as Sayyiduna Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. He is the greatest in mercy. But despite this, we find that when it comes to what our attitude should be when dealing with these types of affairs or dealing with these types of people who promote these unnatural ideologies. Sayyiduna Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, he says, أَخْرِجُوهُم مِّن بُيُوتِكُمْ, that remove them from your homes. Now the mercy of Sayyiduna Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam is unimaginable, meaning he is much more merciful than we can imagine. This is the mercy of Sayyiduna Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But all of these ideologies that come and attack Islam, there's a lot of detail that we can go into regarding this, but because of time, that's why I'm going very brief into all of these different topics. But may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect the Muslim nation from all of these different fitan, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to save ourselves from all of these things, and allow us to also see the fact that superiority is based upon taqwa, and that the more we fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's how much of a greater rank that we will have, not only in this world, but in the next world as well. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ. Maulana Salman is going to speak.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, Maulana Umar Sharif and Maulana Sayyid Abdul Samad Sahib gave very beautiful lectures regarding the topic of today. And I would just like to take a few minutes to kind of add on to their words. One thing about the religion of Islam is that the Quran Sharif, the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whatever we find in the Quran is the, you can say, final decision, or whatever we find in the word of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, that is the final decision. Now, whether it comes to the viratha, the inheritance, whatever the Quran says, whatever the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam teaches us, that is the final word, regardless of whether we understand the wisdom or not. And like Maulana Umar, he explained to us the wisdom. And when it comes to some things we don't understand, but the Quran and the Hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we have to submit to it. Submit to it. That is the characteristics. That is the quality of a Muslim, that he submits to it and he tries to understand the wisdom. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He understands the creation more than we understand ourselves. So we need to submit to the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And regarding the statuses and rank that Maulana Abdul Samad was talking about, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala judges based on taqwa, based on righteousness. Regardless of gender, regardless of race, regardless of wealth, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He judges based on someone's righteousness. Whether someone is rich or poor, this has no play in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When He is judging, He looks at righteousness. He looks at the acts, the deeds of the individual. And regarding same-sex marriage, which was one of the topics of today as well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has given the final word in the Quran regarding the nation of Sayyidina Lut alayhi salam. The nation of Sayyidina Lut alayhi salam, they were involving themselves in liwata, in same-sex relations. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, talking about them, that you all go to men with shahwat, with lust, rather than women. Bal antum qawmun musrifun, that you are going to men, that the men of the nation of Sayyidina Lut alayhi salam going to men rather than women. Rather, you are a nation who has transgressed, who has crossed the limits, crossed the boundaries. And Allah subhanahu, and the religion of Islam, we find in the tafsir of this verse that it's mentioned that shahwat, lust was created so that humankind can increase offspring, so that the offspring can continue. This is why shahwat, this is why lust was created. And we see that in same-sex marriage, the shahwat is being used for other purposes, for evil purposes, right? This does not lead to continuity in the offspring. A man cannot become pregnant, right? So this is something that is from the shaitan. And it is also mentioned that in the nation of Sayyidina Lut alayhi salam, their community was developing a lot. And there were people coming from all over the place to their nation. So shaitan, Iblis, he comes to them in the appearance of an old man, and he tells them, and what was happening was that as their community was developing, as more and more people kept coming to their place, their location, things started to get out of hand, right? If so many people are, it becomes overpopulated, a certain location becomes overpopulated, things become hectic. So Shaitan, he came in the appearance of an old man, and he told the nation of Sayyidina Lut alayhi salam that if you want this, um, this, if you want people to go away, if you don't want people to, overpopulate this land, then start. And he was addressing the men, that start going to men and being gay with them. And so that's what the people did. That is how it started in the nation of Sayyidina Lut alayhi salam. So this tells us that the start of homosexuality was from the whisper of Shaitan. And in another narration, which is mentioned by Sayyidina Imam Jalaluddin as-Suyuti radiyallahu ta'ala, he mentions that the homosexuals are the children of Shaitan. They are the children of the Shaitan. And so Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Masud or Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu ta'ala, he said this, that the homosexuals are the children of the Shaitan. So someone asked him that, how is this? What do you mean by this? Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas, he said, that's when a man intends to go to his wife in the days where he is not allowed to go near her, then the Shaitan beats her to him. And he becomes involved in that relation. And the child that is born by this relation, he turns out to be homosexual. This is mentioned by a companion, Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhuma. So we are seeing that from the start of all of this, it is the Shaitan who is giving that evil whisper. And till this day, it is the act of the Shaitan. And in society today, we see that a lot of Muslims and Muslim organizations, they condemn this, they go against it, but still, there are some individuals who are speaking on behalf of the LGBT community and supporting them. This is something that the Muslims must stay away from, and we must condemn this act of people supporting these things, because like I said, like we all said, the Quran and the Hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has made the rulings based on what was better for society, was better for the humankind. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from this. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to understand all of these things from the light of the Quran and the Hadith. Now, I will ask Maulana to make dua, inshallah. Or if there are any questions, then you guys can ask questions. I feel like there's a lot of questions on. Okay, then inshallah we'll make dua then.
اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد طب القلوب ودوائها وعافية الأبدان وشفائها ونور الأبصار وضيائها وآله وصحبه دائما أبدا. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. ربنا اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار. ربنا يا فاطر السماوات والأرض أنت ولي في الدنيا والآخرة توفني مسلما وألحقني بالصالحين. ربنا اغفر لنا ولإخواننا الذين سبقونا بالإيمان ولا تجعل في قلوبنا غلا للذين آمنوا ربنا إنك رؤوف رحيم. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, whatever good points were presented in today's dars, Ya Allah, whatever ajr you sought fit to bestow for these words, Ya Allah, presented first and foremost to the noble court of your beloved, your Habib, Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to the collective of the Anbiya, the Ahl Bayt Ahram, the Sahaba Ikram, the Tabi'een, the Tabi Tabi'een, the Aimma Mujtahideen, the Ulama Salihin, the Awliya Kamilin. Ya Allah, to all of the Mu'mineen and the Mu'minat, Ya Allah, we ask you to bless especially the people who have gathered here, both in their own homes and in this collective area that your servants have set aside. And Ya Allah, we ask you to make us amongst your chosen servants. Ya Allah, we ask you for the tawfiq to walk the path that you have set for us through the noble hands of your noble messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ya Allah, we ask you to place barakah in this endeavor. Ya Allah, we ask you to bless the ulama and the volunteers and their families who are involved in this effort. Ya Allah, we ask you to make this effort acceptable in your court, and we ask you to accept it by the sadaqah of your Habib sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. بحق لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم.